E3 2017 is still going on, but the main conferences are over. So let's begin the yearly depressing show of what happened at E3. And just to make my life easier, I'm gonna leave on the background the absolute winner of E3. There is no doubt that Devolver Digital won E3. Their conference was the best. And I really do hope they make another one next year and bring back Nina Struthers. Yeah, I know she's dead. They can probably find a way around it. And hey, bring Fork Parker, or at least his evil doppelganger, or less evil doppelganger, Pork Farker. You know, have the whole team there. Now, I'm saying that this was the best E3 conference because it showed games, interesting ones, a Serious Sam game that's not Serious Sam 4 but still it's a Serious Sam game, and also it did not pretend to be anything else than marketing. Too much marketing, actually. That's why Nina's head exploded. It was a sketch about how we treat this event, about how YouTubers are being shoved into the marketing of every game now, and we're sort of becoming the same thing we railed against the media becoming: paid shells. Absolute shells with no integrity, no spine, no opinions of their own, just aimless, screaming monkeys yelling into a microphone and pretending to have interest or knowledge about what they're speaking of. Now, I don't count myself among the monkeys, I'm more of a duck person. Buy Duck Game now, it's an amazing game. And maybe parts of the conference were a bit exaggerated for comedic effect, but at the same time, you kinda see that a lot of E3 was just that for many years, and in some ways it still is. So let's begin with the one that absolutely still is. Electronic Arts. Not gonna show a video of it because copyright, also I'm kinda lazy. Electronic Arts was still as cringy as ever, beginning with people playing drums and pushing their NFLs and FIFAs and everything else into your face, and not actually showing the games that people came there to see. They had the new IP from BioWare, Anthem, which is Destiny with Iron Man armor or with Warframe frames, depending on how you want to see the situation, and they didn't show it at their conference, even though they're kinda not at E3, they're at EA Play, which is a separate thing, but they just showed 10 seconds of it and then cut back to a really lame Need for Speed reveal that showed more cinematic than gameplay. And the absolute worst way to introduce a Star Wars game, they showed nothing of Battlefront 2 single player campaign, the thing that people were interested in. They just showed the same multiplayer. They just look absolutely the same, but on stage we did have the person playing one of the main characters in the story. And I'm gonna say this to EA, stop putting the actors you pay to be in your games on stage at E3. The guy that was in FIFA sucked, and the lady that's in Battlefront 2 kinda sucked as well. She kept on going about how Electronic Arts listened to our feedback, us, the gamers, the people playing Battlefront, because I sure as hell am playing Battlefront and I'm not just here because EA paid me a ton of money. I'm one of you. I'm your advocate. I'm just like you. I'm just by coincidence standing on this stage now because EA paid me a lot of money to be here and in the game. Also, they announced a new DLC for Battlefield 1, which we may actually make a riff on. Well, we did sort of make a riff on the live thing when we did the E3 conference with Electronic Arts. We may expand that into a separate show with Ivan trailers or something, I don't know. And all throughout the conference, there was this constant obsession with putting streamers everywhere and shoving people with more numbers and letters in their names into your face, pretending that they somehow represent you and are not just there because they were paid a bucket load of money to say nice things about Electronic Arts' games. There was, however, one actually good thing about the EA conference: A Way Out. And I don't just mean that suicide's an option, no, I mean the game A Way Out, made by the creators of Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. It's a co-op game, it's a split screen game, it looks amazing, you can tell it's not made by Electronic Arts. Moving on, we had Microsoft, which people say had a very good conference, and I agree they did not stumble as bad as EA did. Very few people that were on stage at EA actually seemed like they wanted to be there, including the people from EA. But at Microsoft it was okay. They started out by announcing the SOX, which is what I'm gonna call the Xbox One X, because I'm not gonna call it the 6. I'm not gonna write X1X because then it'll be 6. Like, this isn't the 6th Xbox, it's the 5th one, I think. One, there was 360, the Lite 360, the one, yes, oh my god, this is the 6th one. No, wait, no, there was a different 360 that was even smaller, so this would be the 7th one. So I'm calling it the SOX, XOX, read out SOX, spelled SOCKS. It also sounds like sucks a bit, and well, that's always a nice thing to have. It's got a beefy GPU, a kinda crappy bulldozer-ish CPU. It can do 4K graphics in some situations, but it's a nice thing. It costs a heck of a lot of money, and there's not really all that many games for it. Not really, there just aren't that many compelling games for it. Everything they announced is multi-platform or coming to PC. Everything. It just doesn't matter anymore. Also, who's gonna buy it? The people that own an Xbox One? No. Why would they? They already have it. You're asking them to upgrade for $500. There goes your idea that consoles are cheaper. Or are you gonna sway the people that have a 360? The people that have really old PCs? And I mean pre-2007 ones that don't have a decent quad-core in them, that can still run games if paired with a proper video card. But again, the games that are coming to Windows 2 are kinda nice. I mean, there is a new Ori game. Ori and the Blind Forest was very, very beautiful. They actually showed Anthem, which I'm probably gonna do a show about this sometime later, but why is everyone trying to remake Tabula Rasa all of a sudden? Because when you kind of think about it, the persistent world MMO looter shooter thing, that's Tabula Rasa. Hey, go for it. I mean, I don't mind. As long as you improve upon it, yeah, sure, go for it. Honestly, Anthem did not look bad. None of it was actually in-game, of course. It's not that kind of show. But hey, glad to see that BioWare isn't dead yet. Also, they announced they're bringing Xbox One games, like the first Xbox games on the Xbox One. Currently just one, Crimson Skies Road to High Revenge or something. The Xbox sequel for Crimson Skies. And they may actually bring it to PC as well, but they're gonna have to find a way to make the emulator compatible with multiple hardware configurations, because currently it only works on one configuration, that being the one of the Xbox One. One of the recent ones, I mean. Moving on. Bethesda announced Wolfenstein 2, which looks kick-ass. Oh, and by the way, if you're thinking, well, why they call it Wolfenstein 2? Isn't it gonna confuse people? No, there was never Wolfenstein 2, much like there was never a Battlefield 1, so it works. Sadly, it's not with Nazis in space as I predicted, it's with Nazis in the US. But just as I predicted, Evil Within 2 was announced, and the DLC for Dishonored 2, and nothing. An hour of absolute nothing. Oh yeah, some VR stuff, but for the most part, nothing. After that came the Devolver conference, which you can still see on the background if I didn't run out of footage and just spliced in something else. They announced a new Series N game, like I said, a thing with where you wear a helmet and kill stuff. It looked nice. Then came the PC gaming show, where Microsoft announced a remake of Age of Empires 1 that looks nice, though I wish it will have the option to keep the MIDI music, because MIDI just sounds smooth. Not much was actually announced at the PC gaming show. No Gabe Newell announcing Half-Life 3, and I would have kinda liked if maybe Nordic THQ Zombie Games would have announced the release date for the Guild 3, but it didn't. And admittedly, expecting that from E3 was a long stretch. After all, the Guild and games like it are very European focused, so we're gonna see it at Gamescom for certain. Moving on, we had Ubisoft, which this year did not have Aisha Tyler, who's actually a very funny person when not reading off a Ubisoft script. She's a good comedian, she's fantastic as Lana in Archer, but if she said Girlwood one more time, I would have just blacked out and would have probably been found 2 days later dangling a Ubisoft marketing writer from the edge of a building, a short building. I don't know why I blacked out. To my surprise, they announced a Nintendo Switch game which looks nice. It's XCOM for kids, which honestly isn't saying much because XCOM, the current ones, are for kids. But this one actually makes sense to be a bit more simple, but it still looks compelling enough even though it at first glance appeared to be just a cash grab smashing of two properties. No, they actually put effort into this. They actually put thought and effort into this game. And that's shocking. Like, is this the fear of Vivendi in action? Is Ubisoft turning a new leaf? Because if they are, I do not want Vivendi to ruin them now. It should have ruined them when they were a wretched wreck. And they went on to not announce a single thing about The Crew 2. Yeah, they said it's gonna have boats and planes now, and bikes from the get-go, but they did not announce anything actually relevant about it. Is it gonna be as wretched of an experience as the other one? Is it gonna have the same physics as big rigs over-the-road racing? I don't know. The gameplay they showed, and not really much of it, wasn't representative of the game. They also had their musical bit where people dance with pandas and Sub-Zero and Scorpion and Rain from Mortal Kombat for some reason. But the thing that really stood out is that they let developers talk about their games, not the developers of For Honor because that game's dead, or Wildlands because they kind of forgot about it, and nothing about more content for Watch Dogs 2. And well, Rainbow Six Siege is just chugging along. It's currently in its healing phase, so there wasn't much to announce. They announced something for Steep though, which is a game that was released. Nothing for The Division 2, which is also kind of going the way of the dodo. They're probably going to announce the sequel soon and it'll be released in 2019 or 2020 at the latest. Far Cry 5 of course was there, it was announced. It doesn't look bad. It looks a bit closer to Far Cry 2 because now you can have AI assistants with you, though now you can give them orders and you can have a dog. And then there was a new Assassin's Creed game which doesn't look like Assassin's Creed anymore. It looks like a melee version of The Division. You have random loot drops with stats, you've got more level progression, you have, I believe you even had skills. I actually didn't watch much of it because at one point I saw the main character ducking into a field of wheat, and I had Assassin's Creed 4 flashbacks to that single mission that you repeat a bajillion times because there's just one mission in the game that you repeat a bajillion times. And I just phased out. Oh yeah, speaking about Black Flag, you know how Sea of Thieves got a rise out of people? It sort of became popular, even though it's not out yet. And there's Black Wick and some other games that have a naval combat pirate theme to them that are kind of drawing attention. Yeah, Ubisoft now remembered, oh wait, we had that in 2013 and we didn't do all that much with it, did we? We made Rogue and then forgot about it. We were gonna make a multiplayer game out of it, right? Let's do it now! And they showed pre-alpha version, meaning they cobbled it together in the last 6 months. And to be honest, Skull and Bones doesn't look all that bad. The ships will probably still handle completely unrealistically and illogically, just like in Black Flag, but it does have sea shanties in it. And I like me some sea shanties. Also, it's PvP focused, but there is PvE in it, and you can team up with your friends. I just hope they don't use the Crew's servers, because it's gonna be or even Assassin's Creed servers, because they're all horrible. They were all absolutely horrible. But probably the most heartfelt moment of Ubisoft E3 thing was the announcement of Beyond Good and Evil 2. You just saw Michel Ancel on stage. The man was crying. The man was crying because he finally got to show people the game he's been trying to make for so many years. And everybody got on stage and it was such a touching human moment from what up until now was kind of a soulless corporation bent on world destruction, which is gonna make the game being cancelled again even that much sadder, because as you know, they already announced Beyond Good and Evil 2 in 2008, when it wasn't a prequel that starred a very annoying monkey that I hope is killed off in the first 10 minutes of the game, because otherwise the game sounds interesting. It's GTA in space, so it's Scrapland, which by the way, in my humble opinion, mechanically, thematically, maybe not in terms of story, but at least in terms of the way the story is portrayed, is a much better game than Beyond Good and Evil, and they're kind of similar. American McGee's Scrapland, of course, that's what I'm talking about. I should do a show about it. I think I still have the CDs around here though. No wait, I don't have a CD drive anymore. I'll see to it. Then we had Sony, which showed a bajillion games. Honestly, not a lot of them were interesting. I'm still interested in Detroit Become Human. The new God of War is, I honestly never played the series. Spider-Man, the new game, you can swing from buildings now, not from the sky, but it's got quick time events of the asphalt. And for the most part, can't say anything stood out. Probably because I don't own a PS4 or PS3 or any PlayStation devices, so I don't really care. And then came Nintendo, and by uttering their name I probably got a copyright strike for this video, who had a very short show, just like the Devolver one with the less blood, though more murder because there's Mario involved, and they showed some more footage from Mario Odyssey with a theme song that is just absolutely superb. Like your heart melts listening to it. It's amazing. It's a song I want to hear non-stop. Not gonna even utter a note of it because, you know, Nintendo will outright send secret agents to murder me. And then came the bit that surprised me. Or should I say didn't surprise me? Here's the thing, Nintendo knows who I am. I know they know who I am because they've made more money from monetizing my shows than they have from selling hardware and games in Romania. They know who I am. So when I said there's not gonna be a Metroid game at E3, they coupled up like, what, 30 minutes? That now in development, Metroid Prime 4 thing. I guarantee you that before last week there was not gonna be a Metroid Prime 4 announcement. But they saw my show, cause I know they're watching. Give me back my money. I was just making news reports and you happened to be 5 seconds of it. And they decided, oh, you know, let's actually make one. And they announced one. Well, okay, technically they announced two, but one of them is for the DS, and it's a remake of Metroid 2, which is actually being developed by the creators of Castlevania Lord of Shadows by Mercury Steam. You know, some of the people that used to make Severance back in the day. And also the reason they made that one is because someone else made a remake, a free one, of Metroid 2 with some Super Metroid mechanics. It's an amazing game, and they absolutely murdered it with the MCAs. But yeah, Nintendo was short to the point. They announced two games that look interesting. Ubisoft announced the other one. So yeah, the Switch looks like it's still gonna have some games. It doesn't have any now, apart from Zelda, and the one with the arms, and the one with the butts. Actually, I think they're all with the butts. A lot of butts in the new console, the Switch. I wonder if there's a code in there. There's something secret. Who knows, maybe. And that'll be it for the main conferences. There was no Red Dead Redemption. There was absolutely no Death Stranding, not even a new trailer, so the prediction about gameplay was true. The one about there being none. So I'm gonna chalk up the top 7 predictions as being mostly correct. Well, granted, less than half turned out to be to the letter, but by astrology standards, I am absolutely on point. There's still stuff to see at E3. Without the main conferences, we still haven't seen anything from the new Darksiders game. We still haven't seen, well, the Guild 3's release date. I don't believe that Stardock was there with their new take on the absolutely classic and amazing Star Control, but hey, that's what Gamescom is for in August, you know, the show where people go so they actually learn stuff about games and not just are there to clap because they were paid to clap when someone does anything on stage, like have their head exploded by too much marketing. So what was your take on this year's E3? Plus EA Play, which, let's face it, apart from A Way Out, should not have existed. Had no reason to. At all. But hey, next year, they better bring out Amy Hennig and have her say something amazing about her Star Wars game, because I know she can actually make good games. Goodbye.